Hello, welcome to my channel, Sea of Infinity. In this video, I just wanted to kind of basically discuss some of the trials and tribulations or what have you that you can find yourself on some of these sort of like journeys, spiritual awakening or whatever you want to kind of call it type journeys. And so often you can be like, routed and directed down some bumpy paths you didn't, quite expect. But just the importance of going with the flow of it all, and keeping your faith through it, and just seeing how the universe and God's source and what have you can like surprise you and bring miracles in for you to get you through. Like even on my own journey, I've like ended up having like a period like where I'm like in between accommodation, and it's like on one hand it just seems like complete unplanned chaos, but then on another hand it also seems like so divinely orchestrated in a way, almost like an initiation process or something for me to go through, because I have like payments and things like that are meant to be coming my way, but they like keep getting like delayed and rerouted, that would have really like helped me during this time to be able to get a place to stay or what have you, instead of having to just like sleep in my car for a couple of days or what have you. And at first, let me tell you, I was a little bit bewildered and me like a couple years ago would have been horrified if I like found myself in this situation where I'm like essentially homeless. I know it's like not long term and not forever, because I know I've got things coming in the pipeways and in the process of coming through. It just keeps getting slightly delayed and slightly rerouted and blocked, but it all seems to be part of the divine plan and the divine orchestration, much to the dismay of my own ego. It almost seems like a way of, like my higher self or God source or the universe or, what have you, kind of like putting me into certain situations to kind of show me my own strength and to, show what I can, get through and what I can still be okay with and still, survive and thrive. And also, getting into the practice of, receiving more and like reaching out and asking for help and stuff, because I've always been quite like an independent person, like I don't really like ever get help from people or anything like that. I'm very like to just do everything myself. So it's been like, a real big learning curve in that aspect, which has, been super beneficial. But, I won't lie, there's definitely some moments where I'm, all like shakes fist at the sky, like, why are you doing this to me? But, it's apart from those, few small little like moments of, just having to rage it out and rage at the system, rage at the machine, I can see, the purpose and the divine orchestration behind it, and what it's teaching me and allowing me to grow and get through, in order to come out the other side like even more whole and complete within my own self. And it's surprisingly actually been like quite a wonderful adventure. Like I've actually been having like one of the greatest times. And I've been meeting so many like lovely strangers and stuff that have been helping me out and what have you. Even like with things like I had so much like furniture and belongings like at the old place I was living in before that became null and void. Even like like a brand new washing machine and a brand new freezer and all sorts of stuff like that I've just had to just leave behind. I've left most of my belongings and stuff, just left them behind to the wind. I even tried to like sell some things beforehand just so I would have some cash and stuff to get me through, but weirdly enough, nothing would sell. No one would get back to me. So it's like definitely all seems part of this divine orchestration to like put me in this sort of situation to like test and trial, to like show my own like inner strength and inner an ability to also rely on others, and the positive parts of the matrix and the divine mirror in order to get me through, rather than just being soul little miss independent. you know, and so many like lovely services and stuff around there that I didn't even know they had. Like I found this wonderful like charity that, you know, does like your laundry and stuff for you for free, so I could like wash my clothes, you know, like places that have like showers and stuff that you can use. I was just like, oh wow, this is like fantastic. You know, and then I like met a lovely backpacker that like gave me some cash and gave me some snacks, you know, and sent me on my way. And you know, and a lovely lady that works for a charity that she gave me some money to just get through things, and I didn't even like ask, they just offered. It was so lovely. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never like felt so like, you know, blessed just by strangers before. It was such a wonderful and lovely experience. It's really like just, oh, so I can see like the great purpose behind, as awkward as I do feel sometimes, you know, like receiving and taking from others. I can definitely see the divine purpose behind it all, and you know what it's helped, you know, fortify within myself that I ordinarily wouldn't have had if I didn't go through this experience. You know, even at one point I was like 4 days without food, and you know, normally you'd think like, oh my god, like that's horrific. But like on the 4th day, you know, I was feeling a little bit sick, but then I went for a hike up the mountain and I felt amazing. And I know that sounds probably a little counterintuitive, you know, if you're hungry, like you should just like stay still and preserve your energy. But being like outside in the sun, in nature, it's almost like you can be like a frog, you know, how it like soaks in the oxygen through its skin. It's almost like you can just like soak in the energy around you, like for like your soul and yourself. And also I guess just like the idea of, you know, electricity and stuff is made through movement and things, and you know, like wind turbines and, you know, those little like water wheels and what have you. So like the movement itself seemed to like re-energize my body. So I was like 4 days no food, just hiking up a mountain, having the best time of my life. It was wonderful. Yeah, so I've really been having a grand adventure. And I've really been so surprised at, you know, the support of others, and also just like the resilience of like my own mind and body. Like it's been fantastic, I will say. You know, so if you do like on these sort of journeys or what have you, you know, find yourself all of a sudden in kind of like, you know, a spot like that, you know that it can be like a part and parcel of this sort of journey, and it doesn't mean like you've failed or anything wrong has happened. Sometimes it's just, you know, that transitionary process between chapters, and it's also like a little like fortifying and, you know, growth process to really like help strengthen and build you up, and to also, you know, get you used to, you know, different things and different perceptions and a different way of dealing with energies. Like, you know, it's definitely lots of blessings in disguise that you wouldn't expect with such a journey, right? Like I said, like me a couple years ago, I would have had a panic attack or something at the thought of even being in this situation, and now I'm just like, you know, I'm a lady of the streets, like I can make this work. You know, it's been a great adventure. You know, and I guess it does help as well that I've got that silver lining gold at the end of the rainbow. I know that there is, you know, some, you know, money instability coming in for me, that I'm gonna be right back on my feet and be fine. But it's definitely been a very interesting like adventure and learning curve kind of going through this process. And, you know, and I feel like it's so humbling for our own ego as well to kind of be in that sort of position, you know, where you are, you know, on the streets or what have you, that you can, you know, make do and find things and still have like a great time, and know that it doesn't, you know, determine you or anyone else's worth. You know, we all just are. We all are the I am that I am, no matter of our circumstances. So yeah, so, you know, I thought I'd just make a little video, you know, sharing my own little adventure and journey, just in case as well, you know, if anyone else, you know, finds themselves in such a similar predicament or situations, and if, you know, if it's making you feel a little like discouraged or, you know, what have you, to not stress so much, you know, and don't be afraid to, you know, have those little rage at the sky moments, but then also know that, you know, God's source and the universe still has your back, your spirit team still has your back. You know, you're being guided, and there's like so many miracles around every corner that can just be, you know, waiting to surprise you, that you just like don't need to give up that faith in that aspect. Like you really can get through anything and still shine all the way through it. you know, I guess really a good lesson in being able to be complete and whole and, you know, happy and vibrant, so in yourself, no matter what your outside surroundings are doing. You know, that real good test of faith, of those sort of trials and tribulations we can go through on these journeys. So yeah, just wanted to send some love and magic and encouragement for, you know, for anyone on their own journeys. You know, you're not alone and you're always awesome. And you've never been abandoned by, you know, the universe or God source or what have you, because, you know, it's all always within. All right, sending you so much peace, love, light, and blessings as always, and wishing you the best on your journey. Bye.